Good evening, everyone. We are back in Ecclesiastes in chapter 5. We ended last week with chapter 5, verse 1, which is actually the continuation of chapter 4. And so we drew a line right there as we ended, and we are starting in verse 2 today. Verse 2 says, "Do not be rash with your mouth." And the word rash here is to act hastily, right? Act hastily. And you find that this is an A and a B very quickly. But more importantly is to act hastily, to be hurried. They all have the same type of words, type of meaning. It says, "Do not let your heart utter anything hastily before God." And the word hasty here gives us the same idea, similar idea, to do quickly. And hence, these are two A and B's, right? They are the same idea. Don't say things quickly. So that's basically what it means. When it says your heart would be your mind, your will. Utter is, well, you could say the word utter in this case is caused to come out. Don't cause your mouth or your will to do anything or to say anything from the face to the face of God, before God. Now, this is important because it is about speech to God, which tells Solomon the Koheleth is actually trying to advise people. Don't be quick, don't be hasty in what you say. And since much of what they say is before the face of God, and it says God is in the heaven and you are on earth, and this is with regards to the authority. Right? God is the one in authority. We are all here. Whatever we say to God, let us be very careful and let your words be few. Be few means little, right? As opposed to a lot of words. So the idea here is it is not about not to speak, but it's about speaking too much or too quickly before you think, right? So let your words be few so that you choose what to say. And so this is about God as witness. Now it says here, a dream comes through much activity of pondering, of doing things, but a fool's voice is by his many words. The idea here is the word voice is sound. Now, through much activity, the idea of activity is doing a lot of work. When you do a lot of work, he says there's a dream, right? But then when you hear the fool or the person who is insolent, a person who is arrogant, you can hear him by his words, which basically tells us that whatever the person says defines his character. So when you make a vow to God, now we don't have this kind of practice, but the idea here of a vow is to make a promise. If you make a promise to God, do not delay to pay it. The idea here is you need to, well, the word pay it is shalem, right? Do not delay, do not procrastinate. If you have promised God, then fulfill it, complete it, because God has no pleasure in fools. The idea here is that God doesn't take pleasure or desire. He doesn't desire people who simply make promises. So make good on what you have promised. It is better, and that is tov, not to make the promise than to promise and not pay. What does this have to do with God? Everything. As God is the witness, and you make a promise not even to men, you make a promise to God, and you don't pay. God is in heaven and he will judge. And one of the things that we have seen in the instructions to the Israelites is that they are expected to honor their vows, what they swear, their oath. So if you make a promise to God, you had better pay up. And this would be shalem, shalem, right? Which is the same words. Complete your vow. And in that sense, it brings in the idea of fulfilling your vows or honoring your vows. But the idea of pay is not as accurate. It should be complete everything you have said in your promise to God. That would be the way to understand it. The interesting thing here is this: do not let your mouth cause your flesh to sin. This is really interesting. Cause. Let's look at the word cause first. And the idea here is don't let, right? Don't give your flesh a chance. When you talk about the flesh, it is as opposed to the ruach, the spirit. And the Hebrew looks at a person in two ways. One is whatever is internal, which is the spirit. What is external is the flesh. And the flesh has desires. And so now it says, do not let your mouth, your pay, cause your flesh to miss. Miss what? Miss things to God. Right? So if you made a promise to God, don't miss it. Don't say you forgot it. Don't say you will fulfill half of it. God asks for completeness, shalem, so that things will be shalom. But if you have a miss, a khatat, then you won't have a shalom. And that's the point. Don't be hasty. Let your mouth say something that you never even intend to do. Or say before the messenger. Now, there is no messenger of God here. And so the messenger here comes from the word malak. And it gives us the notion of angel as well as messenger, right? As well as messenger, somebody who walks on behalf of another. And so in this case, this could be, I don't think it is with reference to angel, but it is possible that this would be a messenger of somebody who has come to ask you for a commitment. And when they come to demand for payment, and you say that it was an error. So why should God be angry at your excuse and destroy the works of your hands? The word excuse here really isn't what our English word excuse mean, right? Excuse is actually your voice. Now, in context, we have to look at it in context. Why should God be angry at the sound that's coming out of your mouth and destroy or corrupt, right? Or corrupt, or how else would you say, or ruin the work of your hands? It assumes that the work of your hands is good, but what comes out of the mouth is that you make promises that you don't keep. And so this word voice carries the understanding or the connotation that God is angry, not because of what you said, but you don't mean what you say. For in the multitude of dreams and words, there is also vanity. Now, this is a bit of a mistranslation. So let me just redo this. It says, for the multitude of dreams and vanities, and this is gone, and many words, not but that you fear God. Now, once you see this verse in this way, then you could find that what is important here is not in working and dreaming, right? Not in vanities. There are so many things that occurs in life that is brief, that is nebulous, that you can't hold on to. Words that you say, that occasionally your mouth lets go the words, but you say that, no, you don't mean it. And so all of these dreams, words, and things that is brief defines a classification of events and things that you cannot hold on to. And yet men work hard for it. And Solomon, the Kohelet, said, for in so many of these things, you should fear God. What does that mean is this: you have a balance. And on that balance, you would find dreams, right? Vanities, as well as words. It will balance fear God. And once we have that in our minds, then the effort we have placed in life is meaningful. Well, at least that is how the Koheleth is talking about. And from here on, you would continue to see the emphasis that it is not true that the Koheleth is always interested in about life under the sun or under the skies. Things are brief and short. Just go and enjoy yourself. He is actually looking at all facets of life. And at the end of the day, fear God is the balancing weight towards all of life. And I think that is a very wise thing to see, because the fear of God is, without the fear of God, people will do anything under the sun. But with the fear of God, you get to do the good things, the things that God considers as good. You get to be concerned in your choices of life, of how God views things. And that's good, because it relates to our relationship with God. Now we go to the next section from verse 8 onwards. It gives us a consideration. One of the things we see in the prophet books, whether it's a major or minor prophets, we talked about why God is so angry with the people because of Hamas. Let me just write this down. Because of Hamas. And Hamas is injustice, violence towards the poor, the needy, the widows, the orphans. And Hamas, yes, it has the same sound as the group in Gaza, and that's really the Arabic version of this word Hamas, and it means oppression of the poor. If you see, because oppression cannot be imagined, right? It has to be seen. And you know, in the Hebrew context, everything is very visual. You see the pressing together. The oppression means to extort. It means to injure or gain by using some of these means. The violent perversion of justice and righteousness in a province. And this is really Hamas. Violence. Violence here would really tell us, how should you say, the perversion. The perversion means the robbing. The robbing of justice and righteousness. What is the robbing of justice and righteousness? If you recall, in the old days, if you watch the ancient Chinese movies, what's the name? The Justice Pao, right? And when somebody comes and seeks justice and righteousness, the Hebrew is the same way. They come to the judge. But if the judge believes in the rich and finds the poor, you find that this is robbing justice, because justice is due to those who come to seek justice. And when the judge is taking sides, maybe taking bribes, maybe giving more preference to somebody who is more well-known than somebody who is not well-known, poor, right? That is robbing justice. So this is the oppression of the poor and the robbing of justice and righteousness in a province. Do not be surprised. Do not be surprised at the matter. For high officials, watches over high official, and higher officials are over them. And what does this mean? It means is, for every high official, there is another higher official. And I think in the Chinese, there is a saying, for every hill, there is a higher hill. Right? 一山還有一山高. So there would be some of these concepts, but this is applied to officials who are misusing their power. And so the profit of the land is for everyone. The advantage of the land. Whose land? God's land is for every individual that inherits the land. And so even the king is served from the field. The king doesn't eat manna. The king eats the same food that is planted and harvested in the same field. So the land is for everyone. But when high officials mistreat the poor, that's when God has a problem. And this is seen as Hamas. Verse 10, he who loves money, silver is money, will not be satisfied with money, with silver. He who loves a lot, and with increase, he wants even more. So this is the idea of the rich gets richer, and the rich wants to have more. And sometimes people wonder, why would the rich want more? During the days of Solomon, people are already like that, and says, this is vanity. This is brevity. This is nebulous. It's real, but it's not for long. It's not for long. When goods increase, they increase who eat them. What profit has the owners except to see with their eyes? So when there is goods, right? When goods are many, when good things increase, right? They who eat them will also increase. But what is the advantage to the Baals, to the owners? Except that they can experience, and the word see would be to experience. And this is reality, right? This is reality. When there is much, people will eat more. And verse 12 onwards gives a picture of why are they not satisfied? Why do they want more and more? And so it says, the sleep of a laboring man is sweet. And the word sweet here literally means very pleasant. Very pleasant, and that would be the idea. The sleep is pleasant, right? Not the man is pleasant. The sleep is pleasant. The laboring man literally means the man who has an occupation, a regular job, right? So whether he eats little or a lot, he will still sleep well, right? Because he would have enough. He will be contented. But the abundance of the rich will not permit him to sleep. So he does not have pleasant sleep. So this is a contrast, right? A and A prime, a contrast. There is severe evil, the existence of evil becomes, what should we say, becomes aggrieved. So that's why they translate this as severe evil, right? Severe evil. And this is Ra'ah, which I have seen under the sun, riches kept for their owner to his hurt. The idea here is to his Ra'ah. So you see there's two words here. Severe evil and to his evil. Although the English doesn't say that, but the Hebrew is the same word. So a severe evil would be things which doesn't work well for people, things that people don't like. That the riches happen to their owners for things that he doesn't like, because the riches bring a lot of problems with it. So those who riches perish through misfortune. Misfortune means ra'ah, occupation, which means that sometimes you do something and then you lose all your money. Now, that's what it means. And then he has a son, and his son will have nothing to inherit. And as he came from his mother's womb, naked shall he return, not to the mother's womb, but to the ground. So to go as he came, naked, right? Naked means with nothing. He shall take nothing from his labor, which he may carry away in his hand. So and this is really very much a reminder for people who work so hard that they forget there is a part of life to live, because the day that they die, they can't take it away from you. So these are common things that we as Orientals also see the same picture. Verse 16. And this is also a severe evil, just exactly as he came, so he shall go. What does it mean? Naked, remember? Without anything. And so what advantage does he have who has labored for the wind? This is the same word, ruach. Right? We don't call it spirit because it is in the context of vanity, right? Havel. And why is it laboring for the wind? Doesn't it be substantial working and then you get things? Well, the idea of this is an idiom. Labored for the wind means to have done work and the thing comes by so quickly that you don't even have time to blink and it's all gone. All his days he eats in darkness, as he has much sorrow, sickness, and anger. And this is a person who is rich and he just focuses on making more. Right? That's the observation that the Koheleth has. So he says, here is what I have seen. And this is a very important word. Seen, visual. He also experienced. Right? And so it is tov. It's good. And fitting, verse 18. Good and fitting. And the word fitting actually is Yafeh. It means beautiful. Beautiful. See, it is good and beautiful. And the word is not and. The word is very much a definition. No, let me see. It could be better explained as which is, right? It is good, which is beautiful to eat, drink, and to enjoy the good of all his labor, which he toils under the sun all the days of his life, which, look at this word, God gives him. It is his portion. So for one who has worked hard, should enjoy the tov of all his hard work. Look at this. To eat and drink and to enjoy all this is not wrong. In fact, because life is so brief, and the Kohelet saying, you should enjoy this. He has seen this. It is beautiful for one to do that. He has worked for it. It is like a gift of God, and it is his portion of it. And so he should enjoy what he has. As for every man to whom God has given riches and wealth and given him power, power means the ability to eat of it, to receive his heritage, and to rejoice in his labor, it is nevertheless the gift of God. Gift of God. Gift is also seen as a reward. That you work so hard, you should enjoy that as well. For he will not dwell unduly on the days of all his life, because God keeps him busy with the joy of his heart. The joy here is the gladness. And I think the idea here is not about money, and it's not about the lack of money either. It is about the gladness of heart, that you are able to sleep well, and you're able to eat and drink and enjoy the good of what you have worked for. Uh, and based on that, God wants man to be glad in his heart, to have joy in his heart. And this is what God keeps him doing, keeps him busy with work. God doesn't want anyone who doesn't do anything. And a person who doesn't do anything is actually seen as unfavorable in the eyes of God, because man is created to work, right? Just like Adam, he was made to work 6 days and to rest one day. And for man who doesn't work is equivalent to defying God's laws. And so God gives man the busyness of life, but you need to know where to draw the line, that we're not caught up with making money and more money and more money. And so he has seen, the Koheleth, that it is beautiful for one to eat and to drink and to enjoy the good of all the labors, because it is what God has given him. It is a reward of God. And when you see it that way, we should not be uh, we should not have any doubts that at the end of the day, God wants us to enjoy life before him, fear him, right? So as you can see, all this, all the thoughts of eating and drinking and enjoying is a balance with the fear of God, or fearing God, so that the choices of how you eat and what you drink and what you enjoy is always thinking about God and his judgments. That although this is given to us by God with the freedom to enjoy, what and how will be, you will need to be very conscious decisions to be made, knowing full well God is watching and God will judge. And with that, I trust that we can now see the Koheleth moving forward towards what he sees life is. Life is are things that is repeatable, but one of the highlights that we have seen is about vanities. It's about brevity. It's about something about life that we cannot hang on to. The English has one interesting idiom, I would say. Do not sit in the laurels of yesteryears. That what has passed. Don't hang on to it. Certainly, we can be sentimental to reflect and reminisce, but the idea of hevel, or of vanity here, is to remember that whatever we do, we need to live in for the moment, in the now, because that is what matters. So whatever we choose to eat, choose to drink, and choose to enjoy now needs to be balanced with fearing God. And what God sees as good is what we will do. Right? And with this, we end chapter 5.